I really wish my coworkers would start treating me like an adult. I work as a mailman for Cryptids, and that meant I worked alongside strange supernatural creatures with their own rules and cultures. Every time I felt like I made some progress in understanding their worlds, I would fail, taking a million steps back. Due to an injury, I was stuck in the sorting room for a month. It was an easy job of just sorting through the mountain of colored envelopes to place in the right cubby for delivery. The injury from cutting off my own arm to save my delivery partner. My work provided me with a new one that still had its issues. Still, it worked well enough. After all the mistakes I made in the past, I didn't really blame them for never letting me go back out into the fields. But I wish the creatures I worked with stopped treating me like a fragile child. Humans are much weaker, that's true. However, I did not like that the spider creature of a coworker taking the piles of envelopes from my hands, fearing too many of them was far too heavy for my weak human arms. I was very thankful for not only getting the arm, but keeping my job after my constant mistakes. My coworkers still drooled and treated me like a hunk of meat. At the same time, they want to wrap me up in bubble wrap. After a few days, I started to take notice of different creatures in my area. I had a system of sorting to make my job go faster. Still, with their help, I found my area being done before the others. Since I was still on the clock, I went over to assist whoever I could find who would have me. Strangely enough, with everyone working together, we did sort through all the envelopes on a slow day. I had never seen the back room empty and sorted before. I don't think any of them had either. My suspicions of them seeing me as weak and needed to be treated with extreme care was confirmed by one of the creatures that could speak my language. She was the one who I gave up on my arm in exchange for the safe return of Max, my partner. A very beautiful and very tall woman that joined the postal service for a year just to mess with me. Under her pretty mask was a terrifying creature I never wanted to see again. She dropped by the sorting room and gave my shoulder a playful shove. She thought it was playful, but it could have crushed me if I didn't make a habit of wearing my magic uniform that protected me from damage every time I left the house. "How's the new arm, tiny baby man?" To my horror, she explained that everyone was now calling me tiny baby human. I couldn't understand their language, and for 2 weeks, they had been calling me that straight to my face. "Help me think of a name, tiny baby man. Should I be Belizas or Baluz?" "I think you should be out of my area." I gained a bit of confidence in dealing with creatures like her. I found a broom and shoved her away so I could keep sorting. I heard she'd been trying to decide on a human name for 2 weeks. The creatures I work with had their common name, and then a name humans could pronounce. Most went without a human name because they never needed to speak with one aside from eating them. So when they needed one, they would either pick a random name or a word that described their main quality. Some, like this annoying woman trying to delay my work, just made up a name that they liked the sound of. By some miracle, I received a message that I was needed for a delivery job. I didn't really think it was best to put me out in the field again, but I was dying of embarrassment in the sorting room. I received the message at the start of my sorting shift, so I went to the meeting room instead. The postal company could create rooms that looked like empty office spaces whenever they needed, in order to have a receptionist pass off the jobs to the ones delivering it. They were called zero rooms. They could create a doorway to anywhere on the planet to drop the ones doing the job close by the area where they needed to be. I was always a bit annoyed at the end of the jobs, as I was never dropped off close by my apartment. I was always a few blocks away. I bet they could drop me off right in front of my place after a long day. I never brought it up because I would fear I would be walking a bit more on the way home instead of the next job. The receptionists all looked the same. I was trying to keep track of them by their slight hairstyle difference and gum preferences. I thought one of them was named Celine, but I wasn't sure. They all outright refused to answer any personal questions when I had a moment to ask. When I entered the room, I was tackled to the ground by my partner. We hadn't seen each other since I lost my arm. Max was a very high-spirited person, but I heard he was feeling down. It was a difficult task cheering him up again. I had no idea how he was doing since we last worked together. I let him rant in his language and hug me so tight I thought I could break in half. Realizing he could hurt me, Max lifted me back onto my feet. Let me eat a leg so we're never separated again. Max was holding onto my shoulders with his nose a few inches away from mine. He spoke in such a low tone and with an intense look. I knew his request was not even remotely close to a joke. I needed to think of something or else my partner was going to rip off my leg and eat it. Maybe my pinky toe when I'm emotionally ready to give it up? After an unbelievably long and intense moment passed between us, his bright yellow eyes stared into mine. I didn't really think I was gonna get out of that room in one piece. Finally, Max smiled and let go of my shoulders, looking like he accepted my offer. His teeth were a sharp reminder that if he wanted to, he could rip off my leg with no issues. We went over to the receptionist, ready to receive our job details after I gave her some gum. I stashed away in my jacket pocket for her. She placed a small package on the table and to my shock, gave a look of utter disgust towards it. She barely even looked up at me, and anytime we talked to her, I had never seen so much emotion on her face before. You need to deliver this to Trin in the maze. She pushed the package towards me, trying to touch it as little as possible. Normally, we would call our clients Mrs. or Mr. or Honored. I never heard of a creature not having that respect given them to them before. Max always scooped up the packages before I could move. This time, he didn't make any motions to touch it. His face was always twisted in the same kind of disgust, like a child who was being forced to eat some bitter vegetables. Is this Trin bad? I asked as I grabbed the package to put away in my pocket. Well, they both started at once trying to think of the right words. She's difficult, Max said after finally thinking. She really likes humans, so you'll have no issues with her. Every time I was told an easy job was going to happen, I ended up in a horrible mess. I prayed this would actually be an easy, quick delivery. I wanted one job to go smoothly. Maybe if I can deal with the creature none of them wanted to be around, I would get some credit back to my name? Max dragged his feet to the exit. I didn't think he had it in him to be so down. He always shared the same energetic happiness of a dog he shared some physical features of. Because of my very bad first experience in the maze, I should be the one dragging my feet. I opened the door expecting to see the same sight last time I entered the horrible place, but to another surprise, I didn't see the inside of a building beyond the door. The door opened to a field of golden corn instead. A warm breeze pushed through and I watched the clouds drip by in an orange sunset. It was the nicest warm place we ever arrived in. I knew the maze changed every time someone entered it, but I wasn't expecting 10 feet tall corn as far as the eye can see. Seeing such a nice sight made me think that we were really going to have an easy job. Then Max started to sneeze behind me. He just wouldn't stop. His eyes started to water and he backed away from the door, nearly tripping over his own paws. I can't. He sputtered between sneezing. I knew his sense of smell was better than mine. I wonder what about this field bothered his senses so much. I'm allergic. I'm allergic. You'll have to go. It was a wonder how he was able to get words out between a sudden sneezing fit. It looked like he was suffering from the door just being open. There was no way he could do this job with me. But I couldn't go alone. No one went alone. It was just proven that it's safer to go in pairs, easy job or not. After all, I lost an arm, and we had the easiest job done from the postal company had. I can't, something might. I started, but Max pushed me forward towards the door. No one would want to work with you. That fact hurt a little. Let me get something for my allergy. I'll come after you in an hour. Without letting me protest, Max closed the door on me. It remained an office drawer, just in the middle of a cornfield. I knew it was still unlocked and could go back through if I wanted. Still, Max had faith I would be fine. Most jobs we just sat and waited for our client to show up to pick up their mail. An hour on my own should be fine. I turned away from the door, finding a trail in the corn and started to walk. I just needed to keep telling myself I would be fine. For the first time ever, I didn't need to wait on a client. Of course, the one time I wanted it to be the case, they were waiting for me to arrive. Our clients could literally take any form. Some been so mind-numbingly terrifying that I couldn't even look at them when Max made them sign for their delivery. It's impossible to know what you're going to meet, and could only hope for something you could handle. After a few minutes of walking on the trail, ended in the area of the corn that was cut down in a large circle. A large comfortable chair sat in the middle, and the client beside it. The sun hadn't set yet. The entire area still bathed in the orange golden light. I almost didn't notice Trin at first. She was a simple creature, and yet still very unnerving to look at. A faceless mask floated beside the chair with the cloth so sheer it was nearly transparent draped over it. When the wind fluttered, the cloth looked like it was pressing against on the invisible woman's body. Seeing a blank white mask looking over my direction triggered my body into flight mode. I'd seen more awful creatures before. I couldn't explain why that mask got under my skin in the way it did. I just wanted to drop the package and book it out of there. Miss Trin, I have... I stopped speaking to let out a yelp and stumble back. In the blink of an eye, the mask went from in the middle of the clearing right in front of my face. Oh, you little thing. You look so tired. Such a hard job. Here, have a rest. The cloth fluttered as I saw a shape of a hand taking me by my arm. I was forced into a sitting position and, to my confusion, into the chair that was in the middle of the circle. I hadn't walked over yet, and I was sitting a few feet from where I arrived. Easy job, my ass. Warning bells rang in my head. I needed to get the job done and leave as soon as possible. Trin may like humans, but she may like them in all the wrong ways. Look what they did to your arm! Such a horrible sight. Nothing ever comes from humans being around those sorts of creatures. It's a pity you did not come sooner. Why don't you stay here for a while? I wanted to speak. I needed to tell her I was here to just drop off her mail. Aside from the constant stress, threats of being killed or eaten, and cutting off my own arm, my job wasn't that bad. After all, I could be in customer service. I remember reaching for my pocket for the package trying to finish the job, then I was simply not there. I wasn't a mailman dealing with supernatural creatures. I was back to being a child in the middle of summer vacation. I don't know about any scary things that went bump in the night. My only fear is of the fact that summer may end someday, and I'll be forced back into school. I heard a voice calling me inside away from the pretend adventures for lunch. Even though it was a hot sunny day, my mother had made me my favorite. A grilled cheese sandwich with a silly smiley face made of ketchup. I happily ate my lunch, not a care in the world. It was only when I looked over at my mother when I snapped of whatever dream I was in. I couldn't see her face. That was because she had been gone for so many years. With the pain yelped, I shot out of the chair. I collapsed onto the ground so exhausted my eyes almost refused to stay open. I sat up on my elbows, trying to shake the fog from my mind. What the hell did Trin what did she do to me? You should go back to sleep. Weren't you having a nice dream? I looked up at her, blank-faced, disgusted by her. My mother is gone. How dare you drag that back up? I hissed at her, my anger keeping me awake. Of all the creatures I'd come across, I disliked her the most for reminding me the one thing that still hurt so much. Oh, my poor dear. She may be gone for now, but if you stay, you can have her back. You can have a perfect, lovely life when nothing bad ever happened to you. You need only to stay here with me and dream. The mask floated down to my level, and I felt the cloth brush against my skin. I was so tired the moment the arms wrapped around my body fell limp. I still kept my eyes open, but only barely. I was losing the battle against this monster. I would admit, it did sound tempting. Just dreaming, instead of doing my dangerous job. I eat the nightmares of humans. All you need to do is sleep. You're so precious to me. All the humans under my care are. Don't worry, You'll have an endless, wonderful dream. Just stay here. I felt myself relaxing and losing the battle. I wanted to so badly to just fall asleep and take her up on that offer. No more threatening coworkers. No more waiting to see if the next delivery job would be my last. I could just stay there and maybe be able to see what my mother's face looked like again. I thought of Max and found a bit more strength to stay awake. I was sure he would understand if I stayed, because I would be happy there. What would I even dream about? Would I only be a carefree kid, or could I see Max and Rufus? Yes, they were strange creatures that on the surface looked partly human. I still didn't want a life without them. Rufus nearly died for me, and Max looked so worried after not seeing each other for a month. We'd become friends. Who cares if we were a different species? I felt Trin bristle at my sleepy question. No, there is no room in my world for those horrible things. I'll remove any kind of creature from your minds. You'll never have to think about them again. The arms tightened around me so they could no longer feel like a kind of embrace, but a choking attack. The sudden shift got me back to my senses. Pulling through the mental fog and cotton feeling in my muscles, I pushed out the sheer fabric wrapped around me. Forcing myself away from Trin, I suddenly felt like I ran a marathon. My lungs felt close to bursting and my head light. She had offered me a good deal until she revealed she removed my only real friends I ever made in life. You're refusing me? Trin asked, her voice so cold it felt like it could cut into me. Yes, no, please take your package and sign for it. I took the small package out from my jacket, and the small slip of paper attached to it fluttered. I didn't feel very brave for sitting on the ground looking up to her. I looked and felt awful, but at the same time was a little proud for standing up for myself. I really thought she was going to kill me. It was impossible to read what kind of emotion she had with her blank face. Sweat rolled down my face as I kept the package held out for her, until my arm started to tremble and hurt. Fine, you'll come back to me someday. Most do. I still think you're a precious little thing. Clothes shifting, she took the package and out from thin air, a fountain pen appeared. She wrote a quick little symbol representing her common name. For some reason, she handed the package back to me after it was signed for. We did not need to return the signed paper. It held a spell on it that made the paper disappear off to the records room after the client signed for it. I ordered this for you. Once I heard a human was working for the postal company, I requested you to deliver this to me. On the off chance you refuse my offer, I found something to help you stay alive until you return to me. I shouldn't have been surprised that Trin gave me a gift. Creatures such as herself worked off a favor-based system. Gifts were not a part of their culture, but they all saw me as so weak and helpless. I found a few of them had started to hand out freebies to keep me alive. I slowly opened the package, expecting a knife or a holy relic. Anything suitable to fight against the creatures of the night. It's a flashlight. I stated the obvious. It's a sunlight, Trim explained in a patient tone. After using it, you must charge it to a full day in the sun. 2 days for the winter. Creatures cannot handle the sun very well. If you turn it on, it shall bring out a burst of light so it will be so bright that it will kill very weak and very lesser creatures. For stronger ones, it shall blind them, letting you get away. Well, that was useful. I wish I owned this a month ago. I needed to remember to be careful using it around Max. I was sure this thing would blind him too. Thank you, I said, standing up, suddenly feeling a little embarrassed by her kindness. You could repay me by staying. I think I hear my partner calling me. I need to go. It wasn't the most graceful way to leave a conversation, but it was the only idea I got. I wasn't stopped as I walked across the clearing. You can also repay me by staying alive. Humans that encounter supernatural creatures nearly always die to them. I fear you don't have a lot of time left. Please, make the right choice and come back to me. I paused at the edge of the trail to look over my shoulder at her. I wondered how many humans she'd taken under her spell. If she had some sort of sleeping right as we spoke. If it was their choice. I guessed it was fine. She wasn't as cruel as the other monsters I came across. People were waiting for me to return. I felt like taking up on her endless dream offer would be selfish on my part. I would stick with my awful job because I was doing it together with a friend. I won't die anytime soon. I have a pinky promise to keep. I could have sworn her blank mask held a confused expression for a few seconds as I walked away, leaving her behind. I had no idea how long I'd been gone for. I found the door back to the zero room easy enough. I couldn't have been gone for too long because Max hadn't met me on the trail. When I entered the room, he looked like he was about to charge in after me. Seeing me come out of the door, he froze. I don't know why he stopped. I closed the door behind me, ready to tell him I finished the job. I saw another new expression on his face when he saw me. He looked close to tears. "You came back," he said, trying to be strong and not break down crying. I don't know why he had that reaction. Trin had a very good offer. I bet he was certain I would ditch him for her. "Max, I cut off my own arm to save you. Of course I would come back." It was meant as a joke, but the receptionist looked like she was going to murder me. Max looked from between her, then to me, then back to her. "We hadn't told him that yet," she hissed at me. Oh no. I wish that would have made me aware of the fact. I couldn't even try and fix my blunder. Max burst out into a fit of tears, grabbing a hold of me, sobbing how sorry he was that I got hurt because of him. Even though he wasn't entirely sure what happened that night or why I removed the arm for his sake. I knew Max could kick a person in half if he wanted. It was a bit strange to see someone I viewed to be so upbeat and strong freely crying. It was so out of character for him. I froze up. I heard scraps of information while working in the sorting room about Max. He went from partner to partner, the other creatures not being able to handle his personality being so much like a human. I also heard that 500 years ago, when a mass of creatures was hunted and killed by humans gaining access to some spell, he lost his entire family aside from his father, and he once had a huge family. I think Rufus had a lot of children since then, but the mental scars after losing so many people still lingered in them. The receptionist looked annoyed at her sobbing older brother. I didn't mind it. I let him cry and soak my uniform jacket. My job was dangerous. My coworkers saw me as a meal. They were mostly creatures of nightmares, and we delivered mail to the other nightmare creatures. Any wrong step could cost me my life, or the life of my delivery partner. And in some cases, just dying was the best outcome. Even so, I would stick with this job. I had made some first real friends in my life. Max would always have my back. Rufus would gladly adopt me if I let him. And even the very annoying and very frightening witch of a woman that made me cut off my arm to eat was worth sticking around for. I hope Trin wasn't really waiting on me, because I don't think I'll ever go to her.